Welcome to EFT Nation, your home for all things tapping. For show notes and resources, please visit EFTtappingtraining.com. We are your tapping hosts. I'm Alina Frank.
And I'm Craig Wiener. The information provided in this podcast is not a substitute for counseling or medical advice. The information presented here is meant to inspire and educate listeners, but are not guarantees of any kind.
All right, so I think we're going to continue our three-part series on breaking down kind of the three categories of secondary gain.
And, make sure and check back on part one that we did, and we'll have one more after this. So when we talk
part one was on identity. And I also, let's have all of this in the show notes. I also want to give them a link to the very first show that we did on the whole overview of what is a secondary gain / psychological reversal, because I think that's important to get that overview. We titled it The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So it's a really important concept.
And when secondary gains occur, you can pretty much count on any pattern that's been going on for your life for, 6 months or longer. Right, are likely to have secondary gains involved because you adapt to the new thing. You get used to it, and you kind of you adapt. And so what happens is there's this part of you that says, well, this is the way that it is, and I, on a subconscious level, may not be ready to give up this new way. So it's,
And there's I'm shaking my head going, yeah, but really listen to that for the overview show on why we don't like words like, why don't you want to give it up, or resistance, or things like that. We are anti that. So please go back and listen to that show if you haven't heard our reasons for what we say about it, being gentle and trauma informed.
Okay, so let's talk about...
But I also want to say that you said anything that's been around, so any pattern, so including things like a health condition that has been around for 6 months or longer, a financial situation that you keep finding yourself in, relationships that seem to be the same, whether it's with different people but the same pattern happens over and over again, or you're in a relationship where you're falling into the same, behavior patterns.
And I find so many people that come to EFT is about something they've been struggling with for a period of time. Right, that other things haven't simply worked for.
Right, many times it's like, I've tried everything else, so might as well try this weird tapping thing.
Yep.
All right, so let's talk about the second one, which is deserving.
Or really not deserving,
right,
to be more accurate.
Right. So I don't the theme is I don't deserve to get over blank, to get over my problem, my issue, the thing that's happening to me.
And remember that that's usually just a part of you, because there is a part of you that is trying to heal. Sure. There is a part of you that's trying to move on in relationship. There is a part of you that's trying to succeed in business. There is, but this is another part that's kind of not on board.
Right. So undeserving, right? If we're saying I don't deserve, then the feeling is undeserving. And undeserving is really synonymous with unfit, not good enough, ineligible, lacking merit, not worthy of praise, not worthy of attention, not worthy of assistance.
What about guilt?
Yeah, it's so connected. It's so connected to feelings of guilt, shame, embarrassment, maybe even hopelessness. Feeling insignificant, or feeling like I've got little or no self-confidence and self-esteem.
Yep. Yeah. And so sometimes they can be connected to some pretty serious issues.
Oh, yeah.
This can definitely connect with, obviously, not just poor self-esteem, but depression. It can absolutely be connected to a past history of abuse, past history of trauma in which you learned on some level that you didn't deserve.
Right, or just being in a difficult situation that threatened your sense of a strong self.
Okay, so poor attachment issues in early childhood leave, families that were less than stable, and often, you were left out in different situations, not included. I don't know about you, but so many adults I know did not have really strong attachment and really good parenting.
Right.
Right? It's it's dominant.
Right.
Everywhere.
So if you are finding that you're stuck and you're not getting resolution through your own tapping on an issue, and I don't mean like you followed a tapping script for 10 minutes and you didn't get relief on your issue, like that's just false
hope.
Yeah, false hope, definitely erroneous. It's not true that you can do that. But you've tried. You've really given it a good shot, or maybe even you're a practitioner listening to this and you have a client that is just not really resolving the issue no matter what you've tried. Then, like we said, go back to that first overview show and listen to ways of approaching it. But let's talk about the reasons why this might be showing up.
So why an underlying feeling of I don't deserve to get over my problem, to heal from this, to be able to move on.
Right.
Why that would be there for me. And
also, this will give you tips on what to actually ask about and actually
tap on.
Right.
Okay.
So how about number 1, events that made us feel that we were undeserving.
Right. So what kind of experiences and memories would do that? Well, somebody significant when we were young told us or insinuated or made us feel in some way that we didn't deserve to.
Right.
Sit at the front of the class, be worthy of getting in be enough to get in a program or into a sports team, or a million different ways, and depending on how they expressed it, how it was done, how the communication was delivered, especially to a child, right? That it can have a really big impact.
Mm-hmm. So that goes like under number 2, which is events where people said or did something specifically about our worthiness.
Right. And that's focus when they're really talking about worthiness. I was talking about like, you're too short or slow to be on this team. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily, it could be a physical attribute or something to do with your scholastic
Right, just a feeling of
skills.
Being undeserving.
Right, but worthiness might have been a comment that was more directly is like you might want to think about something other than going to college. Maybe that's not for you.
Yeah.
Right, and maybe somehow more directly related to your sense of worth, something that you wanted to achieve, and you asked some support. Mm-hmm. You asked for somebody for support from somebody that made a difference, and they made a direct comment to you.
Right.
That somehow. You're not worthy enough to be able to achieve that level of success or et cetera.
Events that have us feeling that we are ashamed. Mm-hmm. So things that we did that we're feeling ashamed of leads us to feeling like we don't deserve better.
Sure. I mean, what happens, in young relationships that we did something that wasn't the kindest thing?
Sure. Like, I mean, I've worked with... I have worked with infertility clients who had the feeling of I don't deserve to get pregnant because I had an abortion before. Mm-hmm. So the feeling that you're feeling guilt or ashamed of, that often leads to the underlying secondary gain.
Mm-hmm. And then about experiences maybe that we felt that it was our fault for divorce in a relationship, fault that I don't know, we, especially depending on how young we are and the connections we make, we did something or we didn't give somebody the attention and then somebody died. And there's a part of us that makes the connection that somehow was our fault.
Right.
Right. And even though on one hand, in our conscious mind, that doesn't make sense as an adult, mm-hmm. there's like this, it's like this glue in our DNA that won't let us get rid of that guilt or shame or wondering if it was really our fault. And how can I really shine if somebody that I did something to didn't?
Right. I mean, I'm thinking of people that had one or both parents having challenges around mental illness, and or substance abuse, mm-hmm. and so your natural tendency when you're that young is I can't control my environment, but what if I try to? What if I feel like I have to be a straight A student and I have to I always have to be the helper, and I always have to do things to try to control the environment. And when it falls apart, or I slip up because I'm 5 and I'm supposed to be cooking dinner for the family, something like that, which I've actually tapped on with clients, then they feel like I messed up. I burnt the steak. Mom told me that I was terrible and I was bad, and I believed her, and that could be exactly why you feel that you aren't getting better than getting better over a physical condition. So then there are situations where we felt we got more opportunities, love, attention, things like blessings than other people close to us. Mm-hmm. Now I'm just thinking when I wrote
siblings?
This list.
Like what?
Yeah. I remember someone in my practice who was debilitated with severe pain and was in a wheelchair. And when we got to the secondary gains part, it was their sister was in a wheelchair for all of their lives. And just the feeling of, why did I end up being able-bodied and my sister was the one with disability? The other one was someone that was working on money issues, and she was saying, when we got to the secondary gain part, it was about how her brother, again, had all kinds of disabilities, was institutionalized, and how can I make more money? How can I have all of these blessings, these opportunities, live this wealthy lifestyle when my sibling is in a place like he is? Mm-hmm. So those are interesting subconscious secondary gains for sure. So how do we locate some of these? For this particular one around deserving, I think that tapping on tail enders is a really great way to bring those to the surface.
All right, so let's remind people what that is, right? So tail enders are basically the yeah but statements that we experience or hear that little voice in our head say when we try to tune into the resolution or the positive, right? So in other words, if I'm having financial challenges, I can't seem to get out of debt, credit card, no matter what I try to do, it's just like I can't seem to get ahead. And if I try, let's say, an affirmation like, okay, I have zero debt, I pay my credit card on time every single month, and I start to tune into that as an affirmation when I tap on that. And then I listen
to the voice in your head.
To the voice in my head that says,
no,
that's never going to happen. You've never been able to do that.
Right.
Okay. The last time you did, so in other words, those little voices that basically mimic that criticism that is aligned with that you can't, and that you can't resolve this.
Right.
And so when we do that and we tune into the tail ending kind of boomerang voice that shows up there, then we have to ask ourselves, okay, what experiences or events are there for me to tap on? Like, when was the last time that I tried to do this and I failed? Mm-hmm. When was the last time that I set the intention to get out of debt, but it didn't work out? Mm-hmm. And what went wrong? Mm-hmm. So those tail enders can help to point us to experiences and things to tap on that are a little bit more specific, by saying how truly we are in alignment with that positive affirmation, for example.
Right. So we do have a podcast on that, and an episode on that, on tapping on the positive, tapping on affirmations, positive tapping, as the way they were originally designed, not the way that you see that out in the masses. So while tapping, like tapping on the point, you on any point, because it doesn't matter, you're not clearing anything, you're tapping for tuning in. So you can say things like, I deserve to make $100,000 a year doing work that I love, or I deserve a healthy, strong, fit body, or I deserve to be happy, or I deserve to be loved completely
for who I am.
So those affirmation statements, tapping on them will tune you into the, wait a minute, that's not true. And then you'll find events to tap on that are directly related to those tail enders. Tail enders are very like kissing cousins of limiting beliefs. They sound very similar. That's true. So we still need to find events. Okay. I deserve to live in abundance. I deserve to feel God's love for me every minute of every day. And just really listening in. What is it saying when you're tapping? That will help you to find the secondary gains around deserving.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes those tail ender voices are ones that we've adopted, so they're in our voice, but often they came from other people's voices.
Oh, for sure.
That we first heard from a parent or caregiver or teacher,
right,
a religious figure, or whatever, that made that original comment, that told us, that informed us, that began, that neural web that is all about I don't deserve.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I think that covers it. I'm excited for I held the biggest topic for last in this series, which is safety. Mm-hmm. So we're going to get into the reasons why I don't feel safe to
get over my problem.
Yeah, get over my problem, move on to healing. I just wanted to announce that we got invited. I'm not sure. I kind of told you in passing, but we got a special invitation from Amazon to host this podcast. And so I just sent them the link, got it connected. And so we're really proud that it's getting the recognition that it does. And our back-end webmaster told us that we're like the #1 rated EFT podcast. And so we're really proud of this little podcast that we started during COVID. It's really grown. We have a lot of great episodes. So go back and listen to the library, and you can find us on Stitcher, Spotify, through our website, on Apple Podcasts, a whole bunch of Google Play, and also now Amazon. So thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us today at EFT Nation. And remember that you can find show notes and previous episodes at EFTtappingtraining.com.